It's hard to carry on when you feel all alone. Now I've swung back down again. It's worse than it was before. If I hadn't seen such...
And it's Thierry Henry. And Henry is magnificent. It's absolutely magnificent. And when you need a goal, you need Thierry Henry.
Suddenly change pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp. That's magnificent.
So, good evening, everybody, and welcome, Gracie Mae and the absolute legend of Arsenal, football icon, football guru, Ken. Thank you, man, for coming on. Absolute pleasure.
Pleasure.
I mean, I've actually said I am convinced, Kenny, when anybody asks a football question to Google, it goes to you. Because your is ridiculous. So anyway, Gracie Mae, thank you once again for coming back on. So Kenny, you've been a lifelong Arsenal fan. Give us a quick sort of breakdown of how did you get involved with Arsenal?
No, it's my mum, really. My mum, she's always been like a diehard Arsenal fan from when she first came to this country. Because, you know, the first place that, you know, she got married in Islington. Both her sons are born in Islington. So Arsenal's, and we lived in Albert Park. So it was always Arsenal drummed into our heads. You know, players like Alan Ball, Frank McClintock, she was around for the double. You know, she actually got into the club. We didn't win anything. So the early years of, you know, when she first came to this country and, you know, even when she got married, Arsenal started to, you know, weren't too much successful. We got into the 68 League Cup final and the 69 League Cup final, and then we won the Fairs Cup. And I think that's when it was easy to sell the football club to us. But, you know, she worked really hard to get me into Arsenal because at the time, you know, in the 70s and 80s, Liverpool were the most successful sides. I mean, with Kenny Dalglish, Terry McDermott, you know, Bob Paisley era, Phil Neal, you know, players like, you know, Jimmy Case, Ray Kennedy at the time. My mate would tell me that Ray Kennedy used to play for Arsenal because at the time when I was a little kid, I only ever associated Ray Kennedy with Liverpool. And then she talked about Charlie George as well. And I only ever associated Charlie George with Derby County because that, you know, when I was had a mind my own when you're about 5, 1977, you know, Ray Kennedy was at Liverpool and Charlie George had been at Derby County for 2 years. So that's the association I had with these sort of players. So it's her drumming in the history. And it's just the history. You know, my next door neighbour as well, God bless his soul, he's deceased as well, Dave Ed. He actually played for the football club and he played long. I'm going to tell you a story. Obviously, you probably know this, but Grace, you won't know this. Our ex-physio, Gary Lewin, was the goalkeeper in the same youth teams as my next one neighbour, Dave Head, who played alongside Huggy White and Raphael Mead, because, you know, they went to Tottenham Park School and the coaches there were Terry Burton and Terry Murphy at Tottenham Park, just in Finsbury Park. So that's how my introduction to Arsenal. But my first time Arsenal came to my consciousness was around 79 to 1980 season. That's when all the knowledge, you know, comes from, mostly from that area. Obviously, 70s, I watched a few of the games. But when I began to understand the passion for the club, it was 79 to 80 season. And since then, it's just been phenomenal, just going to games, going to the football combination games as well. And then when I was allowed to go on my own at 12, that's when the passions happened. So I've had Terry Neal, Don Howe, George Graham, before George Graham, Steve Burtonshaw, then I had Stuart Houston, Bruce Rioch, Arsene Wenger, Unai Emery, and Mick Arteta. So you can tell in all the times I supported Arsenal, last over 40 years, Arsenal don't sack managers like Chelsea. I'm sure when Chelsea, in 16 years, Chelsea probably had about 15 managers. So I support a club with great stability, but not the success that I'm dying for, because we've had long periods where we haven't won anything. We haven't won the league.
Mate, I can't endorse that enough. Your passion for the club is second to nobody's. I mean, I've seen the fact that you go to every game, having to watch some absolute dross. And you have, I have, and it's absolutely shocking that we're in this state as the great football club we are. Now, I'm going to put this question to Gracie, and then I'll come to you with the same question, Kenny. What is your thoughts, Gracie, on the Arsenal squad and the club structure?
Where do we begin? My thoughts are, I think, is a wide shared opinion on the hierarchy of our club. The Cronkies, in recent times, yes, been putting more money in, but money, it's not always money. It's who they're appointing. Don't forget they have the final say in these things. It's who they're appointing to do certain jobs, or it's what they're not doing. And what they're not doing is building a relationship between owners and fans like you see in other clubs. And I think probably that's one of the most important bonds, because you need to be able to be able to fix and develop a club. You need to see it from every angle. You can't just look at the squad and go, I think I need this. No, there is an element where you do have to listen to the fans, because at the end of the day, it's not their club. They may own it by money, but it's our club ultimately. And I think there's a massive communication breakdown from the very top to the very bottom, and the fans with the club's structure. It's terrible. We get told in these press conferences that we don't have a target, but we should be excited because we got stuff coming. But how many years have we heard that? Year after year after year. For nearly 18 years, we haven't won, the Premier League. We've been getting this, oh, don't worry, it will come. No, it hasn't. And I think it goes from Kroenke right down to, your Edu and people that shouldn't still be employed at this club. But ultimately, the guys at the top hold the power. And I think when people do say Kroenke out, in my opinion, it's not just about the money. Or the lack of, or whatever they've been putting in. It's this whole, disease in the club that spreads, and it does leak into the team. And it's showing. Our cracks are showing where the people that are employed to do their job aren't doing their job properly and getting what we actually need as a squad and a club. Our squad has a lot of weak points, very weak points that if we get into the Champions League, they're going to get exploited big time. There's the defense. Well, apparently we fixed the defense. No, it still needs work. The midfield, most of the time the midfield's not even like existent. Teams can just run through it. And where do you begin up front? We don't have a set person. And in terms of hierarchy, we don't even have a captain at this club. We don't have a captain, and that is a massive problem in the dressing room. In my opinion, you cannot have a leadership group, because someone's always going to be stronger than the other. Someone's always going to have a difference in opinion. So that's what I think. From top to bottom, I think there is a massive issue, and it does leak into the squad. And we're seeing it in even small games. We're losing because teams can exploit us too easily.
Absolutely, Gracie. Well said, Kenny. Bring it on.
Oh, right. And in terms of the things that Gracie says, I couldn't agree more, because what the situation is that at the moment, as we speak, you've got people talking about the club you know, as relationship with the fans, and the Cronkies had another fan survey. They sent fan surveys about, you know, safe standing. But one of the reasons why I have issues with a lot of people in this football club, and it's not because they're behind Arteta, it's what Arteta stands for. And it's not just what Arteta stands for, it's what the Arsene Wenger stood for towards the end of his reign, and what the Cronky stands for. And this is sort of kind of emphasised by the people they appoint. They don't understand the DNA of what this football club's about. They don't understand, you know, the kind of prototype, you know, that we need to be looking for at this football club, and the kind of player we should be getting. And they haven't had that sort of mentality since probably Arsene Wenger's last great team in 2004. The DNA of our club has gone to pot, and the reason why it's gone to pot is because we've drawn the white flag. We've given up because Arsene Wenger was the first person to publicly state this, but I think the whole club has accepted, wrongly in my opinion, that we can't compete with Chelsea's money. We can't compete with Man United. We can't compete with this, with Man City. We can't compete with Liverpool. And you've got genuinely people who genuinely believe they've got the club's best interests at heart, who generally put themselves forward to go on these committees, to go on Sky Sports, to run their little podcast. We're all level-headed, where they look down on all three of us and any other Arsenal fan, especially fans on the ground, who happen to go to games. I'm not saying people just go to games, but people who actually live in this country, they look down at us because we scream, we shout, we swear, we show a bit of passion, and we don't know how to articulate ourselves without ranting. So what's happened is that we get silenced, and these guys take over. They become our spokesman, and what they do is they follow the club's same mantra of getting our DNA wrong. Neville Southall had this right when he was talking about Everton. What is the prototype of an Everton player? Someone who can win Everton the league. People were looking at Everton Southall and they went, and as though he was like someone who's from out the Moonies, but he's not out the Moonies. He played for Everton under Howard Kendall when they won the league twice and won a European Cup Winners' Cup in between that. The prototype of Arsenal Football Club, being the third biggest club in the country, is players who can win us the leagues, managers who can win us the league. Basically, a structure behind the scene that is geared towards Arsenal being a centre of excellence where they can compete alongside the best teams in the country and compete for that league title and get to the latter stages of the Champions Leagues. But whenever all three of us say it, it's a problem. We're being unrealistic. These guys are so deluded. What are they talking about? How can we compete with Man City? They got a billionaire owners, and they're a whole country. Roman Abramovich owns all of the oil in Russia, and in Newcastle got people Saudi Arabia. We got a billionaire who's got just as much more money than Abramovich he has at the moment. Yet, what our billionaire has done, he's bought into this Bank of England, kind of mantra at Arsenal Football Club, where we do things the right way. Seriously, Jez, you remember what the players were like off the field in the 80s? What sort of things they went up to? You remember the sort of shenanigans Alan Sunderland was getting up to off the field? And all the accusations about some of our players? Seriously, they weren't going on like the Bank of England, Arsenal behaving the right way. We're no different. What about Tuesday Club under George Graham? And they go on like this.
Kenny, the thing is, what I don't get is, it fascinates me, the hatred that Lee get, because we actually want Arsenal to succeed. We actually want Arsenal to have...
We're unrealistic. Because basically, all three of us, including you, Gracie, we're the sort of people that you wouldn't invite to the banquet. No. Because if you invite us to the banquet, rather than use the cloth and utensils, we're going to put our fingers into the bowl where they have chicken breasts and use our hands to eat with, rather than go and get a bit of cutlery and eat with the little wooden or plastic forks that they give us. We're oiks. We have no right to speak. We swear, we shout. We can't articulate ourselves without using expletives, or dare I say it, we don't
We
speak with the
don't
Queen's
do it.
English.
I can honestly vouch. I don't honestly believe I've ever heard you swear.
No.
And I haven't sworn on my channel or Lee's channel or Gracie's channel or Northside's channel or Diesel's channel or Warren's channel for a very long time, because I tell you why, because my wife watched one once and she told me off.
Exactly.
So I shut up.
Mum used to watch all these shows. She used to tell me off as well. You know, I mean, God bless her soul, she's not with us before. But the situation is that the most important like kind of how do I say it, requirement to get on Sky Sports or go on Talk Sport or actually be seen as a respecting member of the public is that you have to get behind the club's mantras, whatever it is. You have to be positive and, you know, not be too critical of Josh Kroenke. Don't be too critical of Stan. But all aspects, you've got to back this process. You've got to back Mick Arteta. You know, you've got to say that Mick Arteta is doing such an excellent job that you can actually see the identity of our football club, that you can actually see that there's an actual pathway towards actually challenging, that he's got the right players. You know, the players have got this oomph about them where, you know, they're not going to be bossed around, or they've got a hard edge, a nasty streak, and that's all down to Mr. Arteta. That's all down to the fact that, you know, whatever football we play is sustainable. There's a structure. Not forgetting that if you take Thomas Partey out the side and Kieran Tierney, it's basically like the emperor of no clothes, and that we're actually riding unlucky in a lot of matches. You know, Crystal Palace, Southampton, and Brighton told us that we're not good enough. The fact that if you look at our last 3 games that we've won, there have been moments where against better sides we would get mullered. We didn't play well in any of the 3 games we won, but what we did is we made less mistakes than our counterparts from West London, the East End, and from South Manchester.
Right, I'm going to ask a controversial question now. Gracie,
here it comes.
If Arsenal get into the Champions League, what do you think? Will it attract top players, i.e. the best in Europe, the best in the world, or average? And how do you think Arsenal will progress in the Champions League?
I think when people say it's going to attract these big players and they're going to want to come, I don't see that, because, you know, you look at the great clubs that are in the Champions League. What makes us special? Why would they decline an offer from Man City? Why would they decline an offer from Liverpool? Like, what are we bringing to the table? What are we bringing? Well, players have turned us down in the past because of our lack of ambition and our lack of structure, and how the hierarchy treats players, how the manager treats players. See, all these different players around the world, they talk. People don't think they do, but they all talk. The top will talk, the bottom will talk. They'll all come together and go, do you know what? One of them might go, do you know what? It's not that great here. You know, we're in the Champions League, but, you know, we've still got a lot of work to do, and I don't see it happening. That player's not going to want to come to a club that's newly back promoted in the Champions League with a young manager. Who's going to want to do that? It makes 0 sense. The only benefit that people are telling me is a benefit is the money. Great. Well, in my opinion, it's not how much money you spend, it's what you spend the money on. Because we've seen it. You could spend 50 million on a defender, but they could turn out to not all be that great. So it's not how much money you spend, it's where you spend the money and how effectively you're spending that money. We won't progress very far with the team we have now. We have to spend serious money in the summer. And, you know, I don't think Arteta's tactics are that good to be able to even think about progressing in the Champions League more and more, because of what I've seen now. I mean, I can't make that judgment. I've never seen Arteta in the Champions League, but what I have seen, not happy with it. You know, I wouldn't want, you know, Ben White facing the likes of Lewandowski and the greats in football. It's just not going to happen. We're going to get ripped apart. I don't see the benefit to it, and that's not to say I don't want to be in the Champions League. I have been told numerous times over the past maybe 2 weeks, oh, well, you're not a real Arsenal fan. You don't want us to be in, you know, Europe's elite. No, because I don't think we're ready. When we are ready, I will say that I want to, you know, think about even competing against the likes of, you know, Real Madrid, Manchester City. If we can't beat Manchester City in the Premier League, what makes us think we're going to do it in the Champions League to progress? You know, I just don't understand it. It baffles me to the point where people are thinking, oh, someone on my channel last night said we'll win the Champions League next season.
Oh, yes.
That is where we are at in this fan base.
Kenny, what's your view, mate? What's your view? How do you think, asking you the same question, how do you, you know, your experience, you've been there, you say that you've done it. What do you think, if we get Champions League, will we be able to attract the big names that we need to get in? And how do you honestly believe Arsenal will progress in the Champions League?
Well, the thing about it is that in terms of like us getting the Champions League, it's very worrying where when you hear our fans talking about giving players who we don't really need, but we need for now, but we certainly going to need for the future, new contracts. I mean, it is alarming that our fans are thinking that it's a good idea to give Eddie Nketiah a new contract. I'm really alarmed by that. Now, this is a team that, in many people's eyes, is favourite to get in the Champions League, and that if we're trying to progress the club that we feel that it should be, i.e., the DNA has to be challenged for the league and getting into at least the semi-finals of the Champions League, would Eddie Nketiah get you there? You know what I mean? I mean, if you think about, if you want to relate it to Eddie Nketiah, you've sent Balogun out on loan. So if you're keeping Nketiah for another season, that means you might as well sell Balogun, because surely if you're going to look at a player as that kind of reserve to learn his trade, that'd be Balogun, because the guy you're giving a long contract, not the one who's coming to the end of his contract. But in terms of like the whole situation, I can tell you right now, categorically, that team, if it gets in the top in the Champions League, will get mullered. There are so many players who are good enough to get us in this situation because they proved it. Because we're here, we're fourth with 4 games left, so they're good enough to get there. But you think they're good enough to progress us to get us to the to firstly challenge for the league, which is what we should be about, or getting out of the group stage of the Champions League? A lot of Arsenal fans are very, very mistaken. Very mistaken. If they don't think that we don't need an upgrade on Tomiyasu and Cedric, then they're very mistaken. They don't think we need a top-class left-back to cover Kieran Tierney, or if not, dare I say it, replace him if his injury record is not as reliable as we'd like, then they're very mistaken. If they generally think that we're going to do well in the Champions League without having a midfield partner for Partey, they're mistaken. If they think in terms of getting top-class forwards, they're mistaken, because I'll tell you now, a state of play now, we'll get battered. And in terms of attracting big players, we were in the Champions League consecutively for 19, 20 years. No, for the first, up until 2004, we were getting players. We weren't getting the big names. We were getting players who fit into our winning system in the Premiership. But in terms of Europe, we always struggled because Arsene Wenger is not the tactician. He's the motivator. So tactical coaches were smashing it to pieces, even with those great sides he had from 98 to 2004. So that is one thing. And then afterwards, from 2004 up until 2017, we're always linked with these great players. Eden Hazard went to Chelsea. Juan Mata when it was meant to become at Chelsea. We got Santi Cazorla 2 years too late. You know what I mean? So all these players, and then even the players who didn't make it at Man City were going to compromise. Remember Jovetic when he was at Italian football? We didn't get him. When he's at Fiorentina. But loads of players that we ended up going to Chelsea and Man City were first linked to us. And the players we had, like Cesc Fabregas, Nasri, Ali Boyle, all went left because the club's not ambitious. So nothing's changed. We've still got the same kind of mentality at this football club. We're the Bank of England club. So, yes, we're going to have top four football. But if it's a choice between Man City, Liverpool and Chelsea, and Man United's reputation and big money, they're going to go to these clubs. Because I'll tell you the reason why I go to Man United. If Cristiano Ronaldo's still there, they're going to go and want to play with him, aren't they? Because he's the best player in the world. So
the thing is, Kenny, sorry to interrupt you there.
That's it.
Is that I don't believe, and this is my personal belief, I do not believe the structure Arsenal Football Club is any good.
No, it's not.
We have absolute idiots in the backroom staff. I am talking Edu and all that crew. Yeah. And I do not believe they have the attraction, even if Arsenal get Champions League, and it looks like we will. I'm putting my hands on the table and saying I think we will. But I don't believe that Edu has that attraction to get the players in we need. Now,
no, not at all.
And I don't believe Arteta has. So that leads me on to another question. Where do you think the squad needs to be strengthened? And I'll put that to you, Gracie, first.
Well, I definitely think our most pressing situation is up front. It's the striker position. Now, whether we have a player potentially that could work in that position, Martinelli, we still need to bring in someone that we can rely on, because we can't bank on the fact that he might be good at that position or he looks like he's good at that position. We haven't got time for that. Let's be fair. We haven't got time to develop in that position in, Arteta's eyes. We need to do this. We need to do that really quickly or slowly. And I think definitely we need a top class striker that I know we can depend on week in, week out, that's going to score braces or goals in the toughest games. It's in the toughest situations where, you might be 2-0 down, but doesn't mean you can't claw your way back up. You need a striker that can take that situation and be like, and capitalize on it. And we don't have that. We definitely don't have that in Lacazette. Before Aubameyang left, we didn't have that in him. He lost that. He did have it when he first came to us, but over time, slowly deteriorated. Arteta comes in, deteriorates even more, and obviously Nketiah can't provide that. He scored 2, but where's he been since? He hasn't been there. It's actually terrible to think that our defenders are scoring more goals or coming up to more goals than our own strikers. So for me, striker is top priority for the summer, number 1, and quickly followed by midfield, because midfield's dreadful. There's no backup, and we probably need a left back as well as a backup, because Tavares just can't do the job, and we can't bank on Kieran Tierney always staying fit like we have been, playing him non-stop, and then look what happens. He's out for the rest of the season, and we've been struggling in that position ever since.
Kenny, what's your view, man?
Well, yeah, I agree with Gracie. She's covered the positions that that we made, because I counted that we need at least 6 or 7 players. Because the reason why I don't feel like I'm deluded in saying that is that it's the way the club acted in January. They didn't sign anyone. They said that they're going to wait until they get the player they really want in order to make that tradition and buy a player. But there was more outgoings in January than there was when we bought a couple of American players from the MLS. But apart from that, if that's the club's attitude that they're gonna get rid of players and get rid of the fringe players, and let Eddie go, let Mohammed go, and let Alex go as well, then there's enough funds, in my opinion, to fund the whole team and get 6 or 7 players, because that's who we need. We don't need 3 players. We need 6 or 7 players, because we're going to be playing 2 games a week next year, regardless of the fact. Because I understand that we're already qualified for the Europa League, so we qualified the Europa League. So we're going, as much as that's going to be the junior competition, it's the equivalent of the championship. We've at least qualified for that. But if we get what a lot of fans call, or something called the Holy Grail of Champions League, then not only do we need to get those 6 or 7 players because of the amount of games we're going to play, we need good players as well. So the fullback position has to be upgraded. If we're going to want to win a Champions League or even get out of group stages, which a lot of fans be happy with, we have to have players in the mould of Man City's left backs, Liverpool's left backs, i.e. Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, especially down the right-hand side. Tomiyasu can easily be a reserve centre-back, but if he's going to be our right back for that season, when, let's face it, you have to be able to be an old-fashioned winger as well as a solid right back, and he's not an old-fashioned winger. I don't care what anyone says. He's not that kind of player. He's not going to be one of those players who's going to be able to be a creative force on that right-hand side.
Sorry to jump in, mate, is that my concern here is that Arsenal currently, we are a very, very weak squad. I mean, we have seen it. Now, this supposed, I've seen reports, 120, 150 million war chest. I honestly don't believe, I don't have the faith in Arteta and Edu to bring in the players that we need with that amount of money. I'm sorry, I don't.
Well, they need to increase that war chest by at least another 100 million. But it has to be.
What's he done with 250 million? He's bought some absolute rubbish.
Yeah, but what Arteta's done is that he's bought players who are there for the future, who can maybe get us back into Europe. But Arteta's remit has to be, right, which other clubs do, like Klopp did when he first went to Liverpool. Pep didn't have to do it because he's a massive. Man City are not big enough, but he's got massive expenditure because Man City were throwing money at him. But Klopp had to evolve. Like when Klopp went to Liverpool, his first mantra, first full season, had to get him in the Champions League. So if you look at Klopp's squads in the 2016-17 season up until the 21-22 season, it's a marked difference. The quality of players got up because the ambition, right, of the club is Liverpool have to win the league and have to win the Champions League. So the players who got him into the Champions League in 16-17 all gone. He don't need them no more. He's now evolved and he needs a higher caliber of player. That's our attitude got to be at Arsenal. If we don't have that attitude, then we're going to be having this conversation next year, the year afterwards. And that is the reason why all 3 of us are frustrated. It's because we've seen it with our own eyes what happened at Liverpool. We know Klopp's a great manager, but what Klopp did is use his brain and realised there's certain level of player who can get me in the top 4, but that level of player may not be the player who can get me to win the league. Now, everyone of football understands and knows that, except for our football club. And that's the problem. And that's why I'll never trust this process, because simple reasons I know the kind of players that we're going to get is going to be similar to what we got last season under Mikel. And it's going to be
Can I get your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think what we need to do is ultimately, do we think it's going to happen? I mean, with that budget of a proposed 150 million, if we seriously want to get a good striker, how much do you think that's going to cost us? More than
80 odd million.
Yeah, so we're only left.
Gracie.
Yeah,
because we're going to probably need about two good ones.
Yeah, and that's going to cost definitely more than that budget, especially to cover the other areas that we need. And I think it's this whole thing of, I've always seen it as Arteta comes in, he gets all these players to try and make himself look good, and obviously it's not working, because in my eyes, if he could, people are going to say, if he could transform this rubbish team into something or make something out of it, then he's going to look like the great manager. Now, we all know that's definitely not the case, and we've seen it. And I've had discussions where it's, oh, but he on purpose, we're not in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup and this and that. And I'm like, well, next season, what are you going to do when you're in all of those competitions plus the Champions League? What are you saying? We're going to sacrifice everything just to, be in the Champions League? Don't forget, we may qualify this season, doesn't guarantee we'll qualify next season. How are we going to become so sustainable where we can, guaranteed get that fourth position every season, or get higher than fourth and then start winning things? That will take years. Under how slow we're going, that could take 5, 6, 7 years. No, with the players we've got, if we're not seriously going out and if we're trying to develop them at the same time, which doesn't happen anyway, each player develops at a different rate. If this manager is serious about going and winning trophies, and I mean serious about it, you need to be talking to Edu, Vinay, the Kroenkes. You need to go, right, I want this player, because without these players, we're not going to achieve what you want us to achieve. That's what the great managers do.
Gracie, do you think that Arteta is running out of time with the Kroenkes? Is that, do you think that they're giving him 120, 150 million to see what he can do with that? I personally don't believe in that. I think the Kroenkes are blasé. I don't think they give a crap about what's going down. I think they're quite happy. They're dropping the merch every 6 to 8 weeks, and the money's rolling in, and we've got all the fakers, all the plastics that will buy it, and they will continue going up to the Emirates, my second home, blah, blah, all this bullshit, when they've actually not got a clue. Do you honestly believe that is the fact?
I think he's running out of time, for the pure fact of, it may look rosy from the outside, but what I'm thinking is, it's going to get to a point where they're like, right, you've had, $250 million, and where's my results? Where's my trophies? Do I think the Kroenkes care to that point? In my heart, no. But I would hope they would care that we're not winning trophies, and we haven't won a major league title in, over 18 years and all of this. But surely there has to become a point where they sit there and go like, we've given this guy so much money, but what has he got to show? He qualified. That brought me a bit more money, but is it really, gonna help me in a few years' time, 3 years' time, 4 years' time? Am I going to be winning these trophies? No. At this rate, certainly not. And I think there will come a point where the Kroenkes are right, enough's enough. What are you doing? And hopefully make some change. But that's where we hit the problem again, what we touched on earlier of, the Kroenkes and how they are and how they have been for years. So I think they're all as bad as each other, and it's damaging. It's really damaging, because we can't progress as a football club. We take too slow to buy players, miss out on them, and end up going for the second, the third, the fourth option, and we get stuck in the same loop and the same situation every season. We're overpaying for players. If Edu did his job properly, do you think we'd be overpaying for Pepe 72 million? Do you think, would a top guy do that? They know how to negotiate. So from top to bottom, they're all running out of time. And I think I've said this since the start, that there's going to come a time where you have two options. It's either the fans take back their club and, start protesting, or, something bad has to happen. We have to seriously get relegated or something. That's how bad it is. That's how bad the situation is. That's what it's going to take to get these guys out of the club, and nobody wants to do that. But what baffles me is they're protesting against Arsene Wenger, but they won't protest against this guy. What's the difference? I don't see the difference.
Right, on to where we go. Thursday, the big game, Tottenham. Give me your predictions and what your thoughts, and how do you think it's going to turn out? Kenny, what do you think, man?
Well, history has stated that Spurs always beat us at White Hart Lane or the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We always beat them at the Emirates, and I generally believe that if we don't cut out sort of kamikaze defending, and teams are solid against us, don't make many mistakes in the defensive areas, then we're going to get our asses whooped. And it really concerns me. I look at Spurs and I smell inconsistency from them, but we're no shakes either. Let's face it, had we been a team of any repute, we'd have been running away from them by now. Running away from them, because it shows our inexperience, and two, it shows how thin our squad is. But in terms of like the Spurs game, I know they say form goes out the window, but I generally believe with Son, Kulusevski, and Kane, and if they keep solid in midfield and defence, I'm so concerned about the game, so stressed. But the pessimist in me would say they'll beat us 2-0. The optimist would say a draw. I'm so pessimistic when I look at how Arsenal are playing and how we play against West Ham despite winning, and how we play against Chelsea and Man United, albeit great wins, because our goal scoring column went up. I see too many mistakes, and I'll have to say that if Spurs play the best of their ability, score the first goal, they're beating us 2-0.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 1-1, Kenny. I'm gonna go 1-1. I don't think either of Spurs or Arsenal are playing great. I think it's going to be a bit of a bore fest, in my opinion. But we know that going down the lane is always a tricky one. And Gracie, what do you think?
Oh, the North London derby, stressful day in my life that I don't look forward to often. I look forward to it, don't get me wrong, but I stress about it up until a week before. I think it's going to be a difficult game. Both teams just maybe as bad as each other, one slightly better than the other, which would be Spurs. But for me, the true fan of me is going for a draw, I think, because I just don't see that many goals in it. But at the end of the day, players like Kane and Son really, really do turn up for a North London derby, and we see that every time. And it's at their ground, and the atmosphere supposedly is all right. I'm not going to say it's great because I'll be contradicting myself there, but I think we can get a draw out of it. If they beat us, we seriously got to look at our last few games in the position. So it's either a must win or you defend and scrape the draw. But I can't predict a loss for a North London derby. I can't do it to myself. I've never done it, so I'm not going to start now because I feel like that would be bad luck. But yeah,
I'm just going by the way Spurs just spun us a new one at their ground, where we had most of the ball, and in that first half they had 2 attacks and scored 2 spectacular goals, and then shut up shop again. I just thought, God, I hate this team. And then the time during lockdown when they beat us 2-1, where I still don't know how we lost that game, but we made 2 errors and they took it off us. But one thing about it, right, is regardless of how they do against Liverpool and regardless of where we play against Leeds, they're going to be so up for that game. and we got to be up for it. Because I'll tell you one thing, a referee ain't going to help us. Who we got? Paul Tierney is the referee. He ain't going to give us nothing that day. You know, all these little things like Saka, you know, falling over, diving, wanting a bit of protection. Not in a North London derby, mate. Tackles are allowed to fly in. That means Xhaka won't get set off because he'll be allowed to put his foot in. And so would Dier be allowed to put his foot in, you know, and Gabriel, you know, don't get too tight a Kane, because remember the last time he got too tight a Kane, what he did to you. So it's one of those things where we've got to really eradicate our mistakes, because with that 62,000 crowd, Spurs are going to be, you know, in their element. So we really, really got to get in a situation where win at all costs, but don't make sure we don't lose, because it's going to be a game where you don't want to give Spurs a sniff. But I'll tell you one thing, if they go to Anfield and beat Liverpool, then I'll shake that. Liverpool, I was thinking that'd be one of the 7th wonders of the world, but they went and done it against City. Because I was talking to my brother about it, and I said, look, the only way Spurs win this is if they win about 3-2 or 4-3, because that's the only way they'll be able to do it on a counter-attack. Because they'll concede, but they'll just have to score more than Liverpool. They have to score 3 to win on Saturday. That's how it looks. That's what it did with City, isn't it?
You know, the thing is, Kenny, you've been to many, many North London derbies, as I have, and they're a one-off game, aren't they? And of recent times, yeah, we haven't been great going down to Tottenham, but the fact remains that I think it will be a draw, because both teams are up for it. I think Arsenal know they've got to get something out of that game to maintain their 4th spot position to do it. But we'll move on. So after that, we've got Leeds United.
We got Leeds before that. We got Leeds before the derby.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. Yeah, we've got Leeds United. And what do you think could happen there? Because they what do you think? What do you think will be the result there? Leeds United, I mean, they're always a bit of a thorn in our sides at times, you know. So, Gracie, what do you think?
I think we can definitely win against Leeds. I think I'll probably predict a 2-1 win. That's my first response really for it. They can be a pain, but I really think if this team is serious about wanting to get top 4, then hopefully they'll show something, even though it's not the be-all and end-all. It's their target for the season at the end of the day, and it's what their manager wants. So hopefully they'll perform up to the standard. And again, it's another must-win, because we can't bank on, you know, winning against Tottenham, or we could drop points, draw, whatever. So we really have to take it game by game and seriously think and pick and choose the games that we need to win. Yeah, but my first response is 2-1 against Leeds, but it's hard to predict when you've had really poor games in the season, when you've lost to lower teams.
Kenny?
I think you know what, they're going to take us to the wire, this team, because of the fact that, you know, like, they haven't got the control in the midfield without Thomas Partey. Well, that's us. Leeds, they're an interesting bunch, because they no longer play that exhausting football they played under Bielsa, and I don't think they rely a lot on the sort of counter attack. But they really haven't got a midfield. You know what I mean? Because I look at, they've got players like Rodrigo, Rafinha, and they've got, you know, Daniel James with a lot of pace and everything, but they've got no cutting edge. But if they get it all together, they can really be a nuisance. But I think if we like defend as a team, I think we'll beat them at 3-1. I think we'll still concede because we're Arsenal. We can't help ourselves, but I expect us to win comfortably in terms of the result. But there's going to be times when you're going to be ooming and ahhing in the stadium, screaming and shouting, and then coming out celebrating, because I think we'll probably have too much for them.
I'm going to go 3-0 myself. I'm quite confident about it. Now, question I'm going to put here is the Newcastle away at St James's Park. Kenny, you've been there. I've been there. It's an awesome place to go and watch a game of football. The crowd there is relentless. They're an amazing home crowd. I actually can see that being a bit of a banana skin for Arsenal.
Yeah.
I do. Go on, mate. Give us your opinion on it.
Well, the thing about it is that they're a structured side now. They're a very, very good team, and they got a genuine cutting edge, under Eddie Howe. Where I think what's happening is that what players are playing for is actually.
It's Arteta, mate. He's trying to get
It's Arteta saying, "Stop slagging me off."
No. He wants your help. He needs your assistance.
Yeah, but you know what it is? Newcastle, right? Those players are playing for their places, because when the money starts rolling in, those players are thinking, right, I want to be part of this, because I think that if we get better players, I'm going to be playing in at least the Europa League next season. And then if I manage to develop, I could be playing in the Champions League. I could be winning something here because of the money that is going to be thrown at Newcastle. I think these players, it's an exciting place to play. Yes, they got nothing to play for in terms of winning trophies or getting in Europe, but trust me, all of those players are basically looking to impress not just Eddie Howe, but they're looking to impress the board. And I genuinely believe that's going to be our hardest game, because there is a cutting edge to Newcastle. They're hard to beat. Liverpool had their work out of them. You know what I mean? But Liverpool had to do a lot of defending in the first half, and the midfield had to give them a lot of protection. Because with Sam Maximin, man, he's such an off-the-cuff player, but they've got a player called Guimaraes as well, who he's coming on, he's scoring goals. He's still got effective players like Fraser. And then, in general, their defence is actually quite good. The only blips I've seen in Newcastle, apart from the Liverpool loss, was when Spurs smashed them 5-1.
Yeah.
But going up there now, they're a lot better than the team that we played in November. I think that's why it's imperative, probably, not to lose against Tottenham, because if we lose against Spurs and let them back in, Newcastle, I think we'll be happy with getting a draw there, because on paper we shouldn't, be giving Newcastle any sort of consideration or any sort of respect. But the way they're playing at the moment, the way this guy has got them playing in terms of that structure, I'll tell you now, that's going to be probably our most difficult game, probably more difficult than Tottenham.
Gracie, what's your view?
No, I completely agree with Kenny. It's going to be a very difficult game away at St James's Park. As we were talking backstage earlier, it's no easy task, and they can exploit us in those weak areas we were talking about earlier. And I think it's going to be very difficult, in fact, to go there and put in something that could win. And I agree, it could be a potential banana skin. Anything can happen, and I generally think that if that was to happen, our chances are narrowing down for top four with the other games. So it's going to be interesting, but I do see us maybe getting a draw, but realistically I'm a bit on the fence about that. That's the sort of game where I need to see the starting lineup to really know who means business and who's going to go out there and give it their best shot. But difficult atmosphere is difficult at any game.
It could be the game where we can crown our position as in fourth place. Arsenal fans are talking about third place, and I was thinking, don't be greedy, mate. I love greedy is good at the moment, but no, just get the top four and then we could talk.
I don't think realistically, Kenny, we're going to get 3. Third, I think Leeds on Sunday that's going to be an interesting game. They're in the position where they're up for a fight, you know.
Yeah.
And one more question before we go, but I'm going to give you my prediction on Sunday. I think Arsenal will win. We've then Spurs. Then we got Newcastle. Newcastle to me is going to be a tricky game. They're playing very well at home. The end of the season game, Everton. You know, come on. They're
Everton would be safe by then.
They could be, and they could be. I mean, and they were in a fight against them. So everybody's predicting all this Champions League fourth. You know, never count your chickens until you know. I've been there, Kenny. You've been there. You've seen it. Gracie, you've seen it. You know, it's one of these things that you can never, ever.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the last season at Highbury, where we were in kind of Spurs' position where everyone thought Spurs were going to get that last Champions League place in 2005, 2006, and they were the hunted, and we weren't. And then going into the last game of the season, I think they were about a couple of points up, and they played West Ham, and we had Wigan at home. And they had they had that food poisoning, lasagna, and then we nicked it the last day. We got Everton last game of the season at home. They got Norwich away last game of the season. It's 1 point in it, or they'll say, all right, say it's neck and neck. They're going to smash Norwich 6. They're going to probably smash Norwich 6 or 7-0.
Yeah,
we got to get the goals against Everton. I pray it doesn't go to that, but I won't rule it out. It going down to Norwich, them away at Norwich at Carroll Road, who are already relegated, and us who've probably got Everton fighting to stay in the league. And if they don't beat us, they're going to get relegated.
Exactly. And that is the issue. That we are fighting teams. We're going to be fighting teams that are looking to secure their future. Now, Newcastle, in my opinion, are safe. But anyway, move on. And to answer Jack here, look at Jez letting the cat out. Is she called Mikel? No. She's called Lily.
Oh, you got a cat?
I've got 2. We've got 2.
Right.
Tia and Lily. And Lily is an absolute nightmare cat. She is so moody.
My dogs were trying to come in earlier. So that's why I had to go shut the door.
Lily loves to sleep on this spare bed.
All right.
And she's an absolute bloody nightmare. She's so naughty. But anyway, there we go. I'll ask you one last question. Do you think when Gracie and I advised Mikel Arteta, and he obviously listened to us because he did it after I showed about bringing El Neni in, do you honestly think that's improved the defence?
Yeah, definitely.
Midfield.
Yeah, I think El Neni is one of those players, right? You will have a lot of people who won't give any credit because they are so fixated by Granit Xhaka. Again, it seems like the sort of level-headed fans relate Granit Xhaka so highly, and that Granit Xhaka gave a 7 out of 10 performance. They won't give any credit for his performances against Man United, West Ham, and of course Chelsea, where he played fantastic football. The fact is that he's got experience. He's got real good experience. He's not going to be like a De Bruyne or like a conductor like Carfola, but he does things. He keeps it simple. He passes the ball. He runs with the ball. He has a shots and goal. That's what you want from midfield, to do the simple things, not try to be what he's not. And right now, we need someone like him when we're trying to grind out results, who just does as what the manager says to it, tells him. Tells him, if a manager says, get in that position, protect my back four, he'll do it. It's a simple instruction. The same with, if you wanted him to sort of, like link up with Odegaard, it's the same sort of situation. Whatever instructions you give this guy, he'll do it.
Yeah.
And he'll do it to the best of his ability, and it's effective. When I hear people slag him off, they're going, what are they expecting? How much are we buying for Swiss football from? 5 million? We've got a £5 million pound player, and that's what he is, and that's what he produces. It's a shame that that we have to get players of that ilk. But in that respect, when you're in the trenches, it's players like that who will roll up their sleeves and come out fighting, not the big name players who get protected themselves, like Mesut Ozil. I don't fancy Newcastle. The referee's going to let players tackle me, so I won't play there. I won't go Anfield because the Liverpool midfield are going to press me and run past me, and I won't have much of the ball, so I ain't going to play that game. At least with some players like Anelli, he turns up.
Gracie, what's your views?
No, I completely agree. I think he's come in. He's done
It was our
the
call.
job.
It was our call. It's our discussion.
It was. We said.
We called it before the game.
Yeah.
And Arteta obviously watched and listened to what we had to say. So
clearly, we know you're watching, so sort it out. And no, I think he's come in. He's done the job that we wanted him to do, and he's done it to what he can. And I think I've said this numerous times now that El Nenny's the type of player that doesn't big himself up to be what he's not. He is what he is, and you know what you're going to get from him. It's not the best midfielder in the world. He's not the worst. He just sits on that spectrum, and he delivers. He does deliver, and sometimes you think, oh, what are you doing? But he makes up for it in a game. And no, I definitely think it's been working well. It's definitely added a layer into that midfield that we were missing when, Lokonga was there, for example. That's too much for a young kid. That's his responsibilities to control that whole midfield. And we're relying on that. Is definitely not fair. But I think, he's come in, he's done the job, and we'll see what happens. Or we do know that he'll probably get benched as soon as everyone else is fit, unfortunately. But he's even come out and said, if Arsenal want me, I'll stay.
Nice one, people. Gracie, give yourself a shout out for your channel.
Yeah, so just over on Gracie Mae. That's it. That's my name. Nice and simple. And over there, do fan cams. I'm not doing watch longs at the moment because I get too stressed out and I can't focus on the game. And I'm a type of fan that jumps up and down and screams. I just can't do that sitting at a desk. So they might come back in the future. I have the weekly podcast, All Things Arsenal podcast, where I get guests on and we have a nice debate. There is some stuff coming up soon. I did an Arteta in versus Arteta out debate, and hopefully there'll be more of that soon.
Kenny, where can we find you, mate?
Well, I've got a Twitter account which I wish I never had at the moment, because people on Twitter are just a different breed, and there's too much of I'm basically sharing a platform with the level-headed fans that I don't really like that much or respect anymore, because I think that they talk at other fans rather talk to, and they don't integrate with their fans. They think they're superstars. They're too good to answer other people's tweets or connect with members of the public who you forget to use sanitizer after they wash their hands. They're not my kind of people. I prefer it. So you can follow me if you want on Twitter on @KennyKen1972, or you'll have more fun with me on Instagram because I'm active there @KennyKen1972. It's much more fun because people on Instagram, they're actually good people and it's fun. You can interact with them, you can have an argument with them, and it's fun. It's a laugh. So, Twitter used to be such fun until it became Wenger in and Wenger out. And after that, it just became a cesspit of people who just wanted to act the hard man.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just don't get Twitter. I don't bother with it. I'm not interested with it. There's just too many muppets on there that talk absolute load of crap. They know nothing about the club. They know nothing.
Well, I think they do, Tess. They actually think they do. And the sort of people I have a problem at the moment is these. I don't mind journalists, but I have a lot of problem with Football London, the people they employ in there, because they tend to be the ones who try to overcomplicate the game. I mean, playing through the lines. Well, if you want to talk that, you want to say in simple English, a through ball. Just say a through pass. It's playing through the lines or playing a little pivot. Shut up.
The thing is, really, you get these idiots, and I call them idiots. I'll call them out, and I don't give a crap what they think of me. And they call us out, they call you out, they call me out, Lee out, you know, and they call us fake fans. Well, listen, my friends, none of them watch me because they don't want to watch me, because I talk facts and I have true Arsenal people on here. I don't have idiots. And, you know, they wouldn't come on here and face me.
I wouldn't want to.
With me, because they don't know shit. I know my facts about Arsenal. You know your facts about Arsenal. You've been a lifelong fan. Gracie Mae is a young Arsenal fan, but she knows her stuff. So if these little arseholes want to come and talk to me, I've asked one of them on Lee's show the other night, come and talk to me about the Arsenal history.
They won't do that, Lee. Jez, they won't do that, because what's happening right now is that, it's the sort of, Winston Churchill, Mark Twain kind of scenarios where, where basically both of them have said, the truth is that the truth is only going to be revealed when it puts its trousers on. Because before the truth puts its trousers on, a lie will travel so far. And I think what's happened is that a lot of these journo types who write for Football London go on podcasts and just have their mates on who are level-headed or have blogs. They are now the spokesman of the football club. They're the ones who get invited to, speak on behalf of the club. And they don't actually speak from a place that puts the club at heart. They're actually listening to the board. They're making sure they present themselves very well. Like, for instance, you look at podcasts, right? I always see a podcast as someone who talks to the fans and integrates with real fans. Yet you look at some of the podcasts, they're inviting journalists on. Why would you invite Charlie Watts on or a journo? Why would you invite them on for? To what? You think, Charlie Watts came on my show. Oh, I'm so honoured. This one came on my show. Oh, I'm so honoured. This ex-player came on my show. Oh, I'm so honoured. Hang on here. Is it a fan show or not? Because if it's a fan show, get real fans on. Get fans who may disagree with you and may say, I want more. But they don't. Because they've got into a situation where they have their own ambitions. Because once you give people a bit of fame, the lights shine so bright. And sometimes you love that. And I think, although they will never admit it, and though they'll look down on people going AFTV and maybe look down on us, I think they do love the limelight quite a bit, but they won't admit it because it's not something that they're ever going to admit. But when you're ignoring proper fans like us and looking down your nose at us because we happen to have emotions regarding the club, then what will happen is that I think it's up to people like ourselves to grab it back. There's a lot of fans in this club, of our great club, who are not listened to, who get ignored by Arsenal Fan TV, get ignored by these other podcasters, because for reasons only they know. And it's about time that we have shows like this where a normal fan, one, gets listened to, one gets in interaction and has their views represented. Because believe it or not, they want to win. Then they want a big time manager, and they won't never accept fourth as a trophy.
The thing is, Kenny, I think the problem we have, and you and I probably have never experienced it in the past. I can never, ever remember a split fan base like we have.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is social media has caused this, and that is the modern world. Now, you will, I'm sure you would agree with me that when we had debates as Arsenal fans about Terry Neal back in the day, it wasn't hatred amongst fans. It was a debate, and some would say, I was one of them. I'll admit it. I was one of them. When it all went up to Islington Town Hall to get Terry Neal out, I wasn't for that, because that guy got us through to 3 consecutive cup finals.
Cup finals, yeah.
But all right, we only won one of them. But it was the first time in bloody history it ever happened. Yeah. So, you know, you have to give the guy some credit. But fair play. The club was going in the wrong direction, and he had to go. So,
I think one thing is, Gracie will agree with me on this as well. When you go to Arsenal matches, Arsenal home and away games, you realise that these people who have a massive voice in social media, it counts for nothing, because a lot of social media only, especially Twitter, only covers about 0.1% of our fan base. Like, for instance, on Twitter, there's a massive campaign to get this. Remember that young lad, Louis Dunford? You know, he's got a new song that he's talking about the pop on mistake. And that should be our anthem, because Liverpool have Walk Alone, mate, and other clubs have these other shows. But when I went to West Ham away, no one was singing it. And I don't know if that's going to be successful at the Emirates. He's got a lot of followers since the song was going out, and there's a massive campaign about it sung. But Twitter only represents 0.1% of our fan base, if not, and that's not even. So basically, no one's going to sing it, because Twitter doesn't represent our fan base, especially.
Anyway, we're going to wrap it up, people. Gracie, give us your final thoughts.
Arteta out.
Absolutely, well done, Ken.
Arteta out. If you want to accelerate this process, Arteta out. And if Arteta won't go through our owners, then we need new owners who are going to be megalomaniacs and say, "Sorry, mate, thanks for your service, but we're going to get the best manager in Europe. So you've got to go." That's the only way we're going to get this man.
Anyway, I'm going to say it because it's my channel. Arteta out, you prick. Good night, and thank you, Gracie. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.